and welcome to Circle Sanctuary's online Beltane Festival watch party. My name is Reverend Sharon, and I am the volunteer coordinator for this event. I am coming to you from our 10 acres of bliss near Brooklyn, Wisconsin, and I am out here at our ferry mound. For those of you who are not familiar with Circle Sanctuary, Circle is a non-profit nature spirituality church and a 200-acre nature preserve located in southern Wisconsin. Circle is dedicated to networking, community celebrations, spiritual healing, and education. Circle also maintains a strong social media presence. Circle offers weekly podcasts. Circle offers classes. We are an advocate for religious freedom and civil rights through Our Lady Liberty League, and also have a strong military presence, and we operate a 20-acre green cemetery. Circle is supported through event registrations, memberships, and your donations. To become a Circle member or to donate, please visit www.circlesanctuary.org. We have a nice variety of workshops for you today to celebrate Beltane. We'll have workshops on Morris dancers. What is a Morris dancer? By Circle member Colleen. Reverend Selena Fox will be leading us in a workshop entitled Beltane Flower Magic. And Reverend Florence will once again be offering a seasonal storybook reading time for our family programming. And there will be an opportunity for you to join in and chant with the folks of Buttercup Manor, Reverend Minerva, Reverend Messina, Aviel, and Raven. Also, the presenters of each of these workshops will be online in the chat box while their video airs to answer your questions. Kind of a meet and greet the presenter type opportunity for you. At the end of the day, I will be presenting to you the Beltane Ritual entitled Ritual of the Senses. And afterwards, there just might be fire and dancing. After my opening, please stay tuned for a short video of the Oak Apple Morris Dancers, a Morris dancing team from the state of Wisconsin. They actually are the oldest team in the state of Wisconsin, and they have come to Circle Land to celebrate with us on many occasions. At our Welcome Spring virtual festival, we worked on awakening the land around us. At Beltane, we're moving on to waking us up, to lighting that inner fire within us, to getting us more in tune with the awakening of the fertile land. So sit back and get ready to enjoy and share with us a wonderful Beltane celebration. To start the day, I'd like to begin with a Beltane chant that was used in a spring rite in 1971 by Doreen Valiente. Friends that in the circle stand, heart to heart and hand to hand, bring Beltane to the land. Let the sleeper awake. Let the flames of Beltane burn. May the old ones now return. May we of their magic learn. Let the sleeper awake. Let the streams and fields be pure. Earth and sky be clean once more. Love and laughter long endure. Let the sleeper awake. Forests spreading, peace returning, where the pagan fires are burning. Now the inner light discerning. Let the sleeper awake. May the lady's touch again rest upon the barren plain, with the sunshine and the rain. Let the sleeper awake. Beltane magic, here we sing, chant the rune and dance the ring. Joy and blessings shall it bring. Let the sleeper awake. Enjoy your day. I'd like to introduce to you Colleen Koziara. Colleen is from the Chicagoland area, and she is the founder of Beyond Bingo, where she creates interesting programming for our senior communities. She is also a talented artist, and you can see her work at Mystical Willow Productions. Today, Colleen will be leading us in a workshop entitled Morris Dancers, What's a Morris Dancer? I'm sure you will enjoy her presentation. Following her presentation, be sure to stay tuned for a short video clip of the Oak Apple Morris Dancers as they performed at a Beltane on Circle Land.
Hi, I'm Colleen. Welcome to Circle's Beltane celebration for 2020. The clip you just saw was of Morris dancers, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about Morris dancers. If you've never seen them before, it was probably a very interesting clip to watch. Morris dancing is an English country dance. It is characterized by a stepping, choreographed flourishes to music of a troupe of dancers who often wear bells on their shins, sometimes wrists or ankles, but most often on their shins. Oftentimes, the groups are wielding sticks, staves, swords, or handkerchiefs. They're always costumed, and most often their costumes are very similar. Morris dancing, earliest known record of it was in 1448, where there is a comment about 7 shillings being paid by the Goldsmith Company in London to their Morris dance performers. While early records usually place Morris dancing in court settings or processionals, by the 17th and 18th century it had become known more as a seasonal country folk dance. Modern troupes are called sides. So if you refer to Morris dancers, you'd refer to a Morris side. And they are usually made up of 3 types of people. There are dancers, musicians, and characters. They perform at gatherings, and the old gatherings used to be referred to as ales. Interestingly enough, since at the end, that's what everybody was drinking. Morris dancers oftentimes were used as the processional announcers. They would get everybody stirred up and ready for an event as they paraded down the streets. Or maybe they were the fundraising group, because again, you heard them coming. There was music, there were dancers, there were characters, and they were raising funds. Also, they were the entertainment, and then later on, and more recently, they became competition. So there are sides competitions where dancers and dance sides and Morris sides from different areas will come and compete against each other in traditional dances done with their regional or local variations. The Morris dancing is considered English, but now, modern day, it's all over the world. There are 150 sides in the United States alone, and there are Morris sides in as far-flung places as Australia, Canada, and even Hong Kong, most often created by English expats who got there, brought their traditions with them, and then engaged the locals in expanding the Morris tradition. Now, what you might want to know more about is what are the origins of Morris dancing? We're going to take a clip look now at one of the oldest videos, and it's a silent video, of one of the Morris troupes in England. So wasn't that a great video? I want to talk a little bit about the earlier origins of Morris dancing. Morris dancing has a beginning that is shrouded in history, as the beginning of many things are. But as you go back through time, you begin to see that while it is considered English in origin, the reality is that it is collected from across the world, many cultures and many traditions, all ultimately coming together in one place. So I want to take a little note and read to you. In the history of the English literature, there is a note that talks about shared with popular shows that had included a large amount of acting and speaking. These nature myths were likely survivors of ancient pagan beliefs containing folklore, such as the expulsion of winter, in which a figure representing summer is slain and then revived. These mummings were developed into larger plays, actings, cavortings, processions down towns and through streets. And these things were in some way, shape, or form ultimately connected back through to Morris dancing, with the note, the feats of Robin Hood and St. George included, where the occasion is often of the election of the abbot of Unrule and his attendants, the hobby horse and the clown. So here we get to the point where we've taken ancient acting and drama and English literature and we've put it together and it's become a processional play, and now we're looking at the characters of Morris dancing being connected in it. Now Morris dancing began to die off and then was revived at the beginning of the 1900s. Specifically, Percy Manning, Cecil Sharp, and Mary Neal were very, very much integral in reviving Morris dancing by doing the research, collecting the songs, collecting the jigs, the music, and getting things back and up and going again. And that's wonderful because for a period of time it was beginning to die out. There are Morris dancing styles all over the country and all over the world. One of the things that you see when you look at Morris dancing styles is they are traditional to specific areas. So each town has its own version. So the same song with the same name and the same words will have different steps in different areas, and the dancers and performers will wear different types of costuming. Some of the types of sides that are available and are around now include that of the Cotswolds and the South Midlands. But additionally, there are the Northwest Morrises, which is more a processional focus. A lot of those dancers wear clogs, and the dance styles and steps are more consistent with what you would need in an urban area marching down a street. A lot of them wear clogs, lots of ribbons, lots of flowers, lots of beads, lots of decorations on their costumes. And then there's the Border Morris. And these are the dancers that are in the counties that border Wales. They are often dressed in the rag coats, and they are the groups much more energetic in their dancing, much different than many of the traditional Morris dancers. But these are also the Morris dancers that have a bit of controversy attached to them because they often painted or blacked their faces. Now we're going to go ahead and show a clip here of some of the Border Morris sides dancing, and you'll see them with their costuming and their blacked faces. And we're going to talk a little bit more about just exactly what that represented and how it's possible we might be misinterpreting that in the modern age. So let's take a few minutes and discuss the origins of Morris dancing. Morris dancing is related to traditional folk dances, field dances, circle dances from around the world. There is a consistency in this type of dance. First, it is very, very old. It goes back as far as there is recorded history. And second, what it seems to be in every culture that has dances of this type is a choreographed, musically accompanied set of motions that reenacts important activities of life, whether this be plowing, mining, war, marriage, picking of apples or crops. These are the motions that are replayed in traditional country dances. The field dances that were done were of the same type. Some of the implements that are wielded are the same. If you consider wanting to dance with a large group of people in a circle and all keep together, holding each other's hands can not only be very difficult if your hands are hot or sweaty, but it can also result in sprains of your wrist. Now, if you'd like to hold on to each other and do so safely, holding a long white handkerchief works very well. It allows for twisting and turning and movement and motion. So many traditional field dances used implements like long kerchiefs. Swords and sticks were used in ancient dances as ways to indicate war or battles. All of these things carry back through and are consistent from the callus dances of Romania, which are traditionally done as fertility dances, to the Moresca dances. The dances of the Basque region actually utilize the bells on shins just like the Morris dancers do. And as far back as the 400s and 500s, dances of this nature with hundreds of participants were recorded from the Moorish area or the Muslim Arabian area of the world that were done at the courts as a manner of entertainment for royalty and those who were higher up. These same dances are seen in illustrated manuscripts, also in courts, long before they were done as country dances or recorded as country dances. Now, were they both happening simultaneously? Good possibility. Were country dances influenced because someone happened to see the beautiful white outfits in the court when they performed? Good possibility. A Morris dance costume is very expensive if you're thinking about the income of a field worker. And so when you get to the point where you're looking at all of the things that went into this costuming and the fact that the costuming is traditional for each area and each culture or even each town, you end up seeing that what happened was variations happened that were consistent for each community. But that these variations and these dances in general came specifically down through history over hundreds of years, and even possibly as many as 1,000 years or more, from the Abbot Bromley horn dancers and the sword dancers, sword dancing all the way up to Scotland, consistent in steps all the way down to those that are done in the Andalusian region. It is an interesting thing when you consider the fact that we are consistently, as a species, an agricultural people. And we have traveled and we have warred, and that these things are consistent along with planting and harvesting, marrying and making babies throughout history, and that we celebrate these things in dance. Additionally, one of the things you'll find that's even more exciting and funny now is there is currently a TV program that is a speed dating option where the woman is choosing from 9 men who are dancing for her. And that is another reason for traditional field dances. When you go ahead and can see that the person before you is physically fit capable. They are dressed nicely. They had the money for their costume, and they have the ability to be graceful as well. You have chosen an excellent partner. So now let's take a look at some of the costuming and the characters that are also part of Morris dancing. These, like the steps and the implements used, have changed over time. At the beginning of the Morris dancing, when it was first recorded, no mention was made of Robin Hood or of the Merry Men, Friar Tuck, or Maid Marian. Yet after those stories became popular, those characters were added for a period of time. Hobby horses have been talked about since the 800s in Moorish presentations and dance, and those followed through. The belief as to why the hobby horse character is there are many, and they come from many cultures, having been brought through from the Moors and the Moresca dances of that era to the belief that the horse pulled the chariot of the sun and was therefore a representative of the sun and the masculine energy. It was not until 1975 that women were allowed to dance in the Morris dancing. And so much like Shakespeare did, if you needed a female character, it was going to be a man dressed as a woman. And that begins to attract all sorts of other commentaries and opinions about what the Betty means as one of the Morris dancing characters. The Fool. The Fool in most Morris sides is not only the most wildly dressed, but also the best dancer. The Fool oftentimes led the pace and was in possession of a stick that held some sort of balloon or inflated animal bladder that he used to rouse the crowds and to keep the dancers in line, in time, and in step. The costuming has changed dramatically from village to town. Everything from pure white outfits with bells and fringes to the rag coats that are reminiscent of Siberian shamans. The rags, or the long ribbons on the coats, traditionally were said to be one for every conquest. Remember, of course, Morris dancing was one of the processions and entertainment at ales and fetes and parties and weddings and gatherings of all sorts. And at the end of the dancing, there was always celebration. So depending on how well your celebration went, that's how many ribbons you had, and that's how come your coat was festooned with so many different colors. Additionally, the costuming, much as it is in the mummers' plays and the traditional plays of old, all included disguise for many reasons. Parts of dancing that include disguise and mask always have the ability to take not only the dancer, but those who are viewing the dance to another place. That's no longer your friend Bob dancing over there. That is the spirit of the spring. That is the spirit of the May. Possibly that is the spirit of the May King. The very first carving on a death stone of a green man goes all the way back to the 400s and was believed at that time to be in honor of not green on the land, but green in the ocean. and festooned out of his mouth were all of those seaweeds that were coming forth, because he was in honor of Poseidon and the gods of the ocean. Those figures carried on, and oftentimes there is a green man or a bear made of straw that is part of the Morris dancing characters as well, if the dance is done at the end of the year. These characters all serve different purposes for different sides, and they all have many meanings, and those meanings change from area to area and through the ages. One of the most controversial right now is the use of face blackening by some of the border Morris sides. These are groups that are located in the counties that are in England but near Wales, or on the edges of Wales. Interestingly enough, during the time that these were created, it was long prior to there being any slavery in England or the surrounding area, and was not done at a time to be consistent with the insulting versions of blackface done here during the minstrel shows in the United States. The two possible contributing influences to blackface in the border Morris tradition is one, first, the Moors, the Morris dances and the Moorish dances of the Moresca, which also included many of these types of steps, and which included many of the Sufis who also blackened their face as a way to disguise themselves or embody the spirit more fully. Additionally, Border Morris is located in an area that is almost completely populated by coal miners. And during the time when it was at its height of popularity, begging, which many Morris sides did, for money during their performances was illegal. So one of the ways that the dancers protected themselves from arrest by the local constables was to blacken their face so that they were not recognizable. Interestingly enough, the blackening they used to keep themselves out of trouble is now exactly the costume effect that is getting them into trouble. And many of the groups or sides that were using that type of paint have changed the colors or removed it completely in the face of issues with individuals watching and misinterpreting this as an insulting blackface consistent with American minstrel shows. So we've taken a look at Morris dancing from its times in the fields and the courts, the inclusion of hobby horses, green men, Robin Hood and Maid Marian, the dancing for fertility or for harvest, for war, for conquest, defeat, or triumph. It has been a dance that has traveled with humanity for centuries now. And there is something about it that reminds us of something older and gone, something past. And there's a little quote here that I would like to close with. The Gloucestershire men train assiduously all winter, and then comes the 1st of May. They sally forth and dance until September, planning their program to take in favorite hostelries. As in the old days, vigorous dancing is followed by vigorous singing and drinking. Half the point of the exercise is to pile into the pubs afterwards for a few pints and a rousing sing-song. Last Saturday in the Black Horse, the atmosphere was highly convivial. Yet when the team began to perform in the road outside, I swear magic crept back into the air. It was a damp, gray evening, spitting with rain. But as the dancers twirled against the gray limestone of the cottages, and the thin notes of the pipe and tabor went out over the valley, people began to filter up the steep village streets as if drawn by the Pied Piper, and time, far from standing still, took a very rapid spin backwards to a simpler and less frantic age. Have a very, very happy Beltane, and may you get to see the Morris dancers this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen, for that wonderful presentation. And as always, thank you for your support and for volunteering at Circle for a very long time. You are appreciated and you are valued. Up next at 11 o'clock will be Reverend Florence with our family programming. Stay tuned.
Fertility!
Sunshine! Sunshine!
Are we all ready?